Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Policy News and Notes with Neil. Been a few weeks since I've recorded one of these because, honestly, there's been a lot happening and haven't even had the bandwidth to sit down and do one. Just going to quickly recap what all's going on. Start with one big, beautiful bill. It took a turn. As I had noted on a previous episode, came out of Ways and Means, looking pretty reasonable. At the 11th hour, literally the 11th hour, between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. the night the bill passed, there were some significant changes made to really scale back the clean energy tax incentives that I've been discussing on these clips. Honestly, there wasn't a ton of negotiation or nuance or policy in those final hours. It was just about moving the bill forward. It passed by one vote. Odd circumstances. Sadly, a member of Congress died the morning of the vote. Another member, supporter of the clean energy tax credits, fell asleep and missed the vote. This is what happens when you have tight margins. Now things move to the U.S. Senate, where I expect we pivot back to a reasonable place. U.S. senators that I've had conversations with who want to make changes to the policy, but don't want to do anything disruptive to investment. I think they're going to handle things in a reasonable way. Next big variable to watch here is the Senate Finance Committee. What comes out of Senate Finance? I suspect there will be a phase down of the credits, reasonable language on foreign entity of concern and transferability, and get kind of back closer to where House Ways and Means was, which really was kind of a reasonable approach. So we'll see where things go. The Senate Majority Leader has set a goal of getting a bill out of the chamber by the 4th of July. We'll see if he can hit that. Beyond that, look, it was a busy week for me. I was in Las Vegas at Bitcoin 2025 talking about the importance of energy and having every available electron to meet the coming surge in demand that will be driven in large part by Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining, and the importance of kind of flexibility and distributed generation. Was a great event. The vice president spoke at it. You're seeing more and more understanding of the intersection between these energy intensive endeavors like Bitcoin and energy. What else has been happening? Supreme Court handed down a major decision on NEPA, narrowing NEPA. This is the key statutory law that kind of has been hanging over permitting in this country of all forms of energy. It was an 8-0 decision out of the Supreme Court. This is something that was central to my tenure at FERC. There were a lot of questions about NEPA and what the commission's obligations were on upstream and downstream emissions, led to a lot of legal uncertainty in the permitting process during my time at the commission. The Supreme Court answered that. It is a big deal, and it's a big deal going forward. And I look forward to unpacking that on a future issue, a future episode. We've got a number of executive orders that came out of the administration to prop up nuclear power. Nuclear, our single greatest form of carbon-free baseload generation. We'll wait and see how that materializes to impact the nuclear industry. We had Elon Musk, his last day at work. Interesting enough, now that he's already outside of the tent, he started peeing into the tent and immediately started criticizing Republicans, the House Republican reconciliation bill, because of the approach it took to clean energy tax incentives. We'll be very curious to see how he plays these issues moving forward now that he's leaving his role as a special advisor to the administration. Finally, a week ago, DOE had a kind of controversial decision. They use emergency authority to keep open a coal plant in MISO, and immediately afterwards, almost, we had a reliability issue in the region. About 100,000 people in New Orleans were subjected to forced blackouts, kind of making the administration's case about the need for more generation and the need to slow the retirement of plants to maintain reliability. as folks who know me and my history know, this was something I wrestled with during my tenure at FERC, dealing with DOE and DOE's desires back then to keep afloat baseload power. Kind of interesting how that all came together. So a whirlwind of a couple of weeks. I'll be back next week with more policy news and notes with Neil.